Hi everyone, this is audapostrophe. Let's continue our game of Her World running on the Steam Deck.
그거 찾기 하자. 100초 안에 찾으면 오빠야가 이겨.
What sort of doll is it?
찾으면 무서운 게 오는 인형.
Huh? Then we shouldn't be looking for it.
응. 찾으면 큰일 나.
Then how am I supposed to win?
세상이 다 그런 거야.
A head the size of my palm and already speaking of the illogicality of the world. Wait, a head the size of my palm and already speaking of the illogicality of this world.
자, 그럼
The energetic Wooby was jumping around, about to start a new game when she teetered to one side. I lightly grabbed her to keep her from falling over and positioned her the right way in bed. Her raincoat moved up and down with each breath as she lay on the cozy bed. Looked like her battery had finally run out. Children's lack of the ability to manage what strength they had left in their bodies often led them to running dry and literally falling into a deep sleep. Good, that meant I won. Whew. I sat on the edge of the bed and watched Wooby. I thought she might catch a cold if she slept in that damp raincoat. Should I slip off the raincoat and cover her with a blanket? I grabbed one of the bulging blankets without thinking about why it looked like there was something under it. Under the blanket, there was a crispy-looking something. I was greeted by a nasty smell and the sight of some skin barely clinging to bones. Covering a child with a blanket that was just covering a corpse seemed like the wrong move. I quietly returned the blanket to its previous owner, grabbed a relatively clean blanket from another bed, and covered Wooby with it. Kids need time to play and more time to sleep. The blanket moved up and down with her every breath. The humidity brought on by the rain was making me feel pretty wiped too. The strange warmth of the room made me feel sleepy. The rain hitting the window was music to my ears. My sluggish body slowly leaned back against one of the walls. I felt like dozing off during one of my classes. I couldn't be sure how long I drifted off for. Suddenly there was a flash of light and I realized that the rain had given way to a huge thunderstorm. I jumped up like one of the bolts that had struck me. I was alone in the room. Where Wooby had been, there was nothing but the crumpled blanket and a small note written in red letters. "Where'd you go? You said you'd play with me." A few consecutive roars of thunder sounded off. The weather outside was brutal, incomparable to what it had been before. What was such a small kid doing running off during all this? I ran out of the room in search of Wooby, sparing no time to think. Despite all the thunder and lightning, the rain had let off a bit. "Wooby! Where did you go? Wooby!" How fast had she run on those tiny legs of hers? There was no sign of her. The only colors breaking up the gray of the sky and green of the grass were from the sparse patches of flowers. I hadn't even known the kid's name for more than a few hours, so why was I so desperate in my search for her? Why was I so worried? Why was I so downtrodden by all this? I pushed those questions out of my mind, and then I wandered here and there for a long time. I saw movement through the rain. Wooby? Far too big. Something black. It was walking this way. The thought, though the sound of the rain smacking against his body, or through the sound of the rain smacking against his body, I could hear the pounding of his footsteps. It looked like his body and face had been covered in black oil. The figure was dark, yet gleaming. The thing looked to be about my height and build. It walked straight towards me, body upright. With an appearance like that, it was hard to think it human, but for some reason I had a hunch he would move like one. It suddenly stopped for a moment, seeming to notice me. Then it moved its head from side to side like it was looking for something. It raised its fists and began closing the gap between us. There was no need for words between us. It was coming in for an attack. It looked like the thing had been about to swing a pipe at Wooby, but no matter what Wooby had gone out to do, I couldn't let this thing roam about. For some reason, I felt like I shouldn't resort to using weapons. Something like pride flared up inside. I put up my dukes and took a fighting stance. This thing and I, our postures so similar, it looked like I was looking in a mirror. Since I was right-handed, then it looked like I was standing in the mirror. Was this thing a southpaw? I tensed up for a moment before letting out a long sigh. Crap. I heard something about that. It was probably from my old master, also known as the Internet. Yeah, that gives this thing the advantage, so I'm going to have to lead with my left. Someone skilled enough could switch between southpaw and conventional, but I had seen a bully of a right-hander insist on only leading with his left hand after watching YouTube. But you have to choose your strategy based on the situation and roll with the punches. I threw a provocative smile through the softening rain and... Huh? It closed the distance with an unimaginable speed. It was my same weight class, but with insane forward pressure. I tried to hold it back with a defensive jab, but it jabbed twice at my covering arm with its forward hand. Then that powerful backhand found a hole in my guard. I swung my head to the side, barely avoiding the blow, and stepped back as though I were going to run away. Then I threw a wide counterpunch with my backhand, but it caught nothing but air. I'm not stepping in then. There were no gloves to get slick ends with sweat, but the rain was doing the same number on my hands. This thing was obviously going to slide in with a straight left to split my guard. Come to think of it, I've never fought in the rain before. We traded a few blows back and forth. I was getting tired a lot quicker than usual. Though this thing was rushing in with a lot of force, it was also very cautious in its actions. It threw out a few fakes that made it seem like it was looking for the counter, but mixed in some moves meant to provoke me into coming in close. It seemed to have judged that I was close to it in skill level. We were even keeping the same distance between us as we circled each other. We both mixed a kick into our combo at the exact same time, ending up in a tangle of legs. We were so close we couldn't extend our elbows for a hit. Why is it so slippery? Should I grab him in a Thai plum? Try for a takedown? No. I felt the heat rise to my head and threw a slicing elbow. Ah. With a sound that spoke to how much it hurt, our elbows clashed. We had thrown our elbows with exactly the same timing. That was a bad one. Is it broken? No, in all my life. The black creature was also looking at its own elbow, seeming concerned for it. I hadn't fought all that long, but I was completely out of breath. On top of that, I couldn't see very well through all the rain. I had no idea fighting in the rain would be this difficult. If I didn't finish this soon, I'd have nothing left. Should I shoot in and try to move this to the ground? If I try a few different setups, I should be able to land a judo throw. I hadn't learned to throw in any professional sense, but since this wasn't a gym floor, the shock of hitting the ground would be considerable. As the match stretched on, the advantage was going to go to the southpaw, who hadn't been wandering around in the sheets of rain. Sheets, glass, mirrors, Yuri. Huh? Suddenly, everything feels so wrong. The fundamentals of the southpaw stance taught the athlete to circle away from the front foot of the opponent in a conventional stance. In doing so, they would avoid the right, allowing room for only the strong left of the southpaw. But this thing wasn't showing any movement at all right now. As I thought that, I realized what felt so wrong. What? This black thing in the southpaw stance wasn't a thing at all. It was me. It felt so natural, like it had always been this way. The reason he looked like a reflection in the mirror was because he was moving the opposite direction from me. But why the southpaw? I always fought conventional. I felt as though this thing had his left hand and right hands mixed up from the very beginning. As I stood there in a state of panic, my eyes shot to the right hand that he held in front. He should have a large scar on the right that was on my left. Then I saw it. No way. It wasn't that he was a mirror of me. In a match where physical and technical skills were even, a break in one's mental condition spelled the end of the competition. I felt my body being thrown to the hard, wet ground. It wasn't perfect, but his throw was more about force than skill. The hard concrete I hit was nothing like the gym floor I was used to. Before I could recover from the shock of the blow, I felt an arm tighten around my neck. On that left arm that was tightening around my throat, there was a big scar that looked like someone had bitten a chunk out of it. Then... Ow, 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 ow. I fell off my bed and knocked myself awake. I hit my funny bone on the floor, and suddenly my arms were pins and needles. As if to signal how long I'd slept, I felt rays of sunshine hit my face. So warm. I haven't slept that well in a long time. Was I just tired from the grand adventures I was having in the other world? If it were mid-semester, I'd only get the chance to sleep in this late if they canceled classes. I had this feeling that I had an equally astounding dream, but right when I fell off the bed, it was instantly forgotten. When I dreamed, it was like my sensibilities and outlook of the world shifted, transforming me into a completely different person. But when I woke up, everything went back to normal, as if all that was a pack of lies. Dreams were always that way, though, fleeting things. My hangover wasn't too bad, considering how much I drank. Maybe it was all the food I ate. I feel good enough to face whatever challenges the day may bring. Should I get a move on then? It wasn't like I could message her, so it was probably best to hurry along. Oh boy, what are we doing now? Quest, the smell of rain. Reach your destination. Yeah, I don't know if I really like these little portions. They seem to just kind of get in the way. Of what's a, a pretty interesting visual novel. Okay. I just can't say these gameplay segments really add much to the game, other than, now you have something which resembles a more traditional game. Obstacles, locked doors. Some doors require keys to unlock them. If you find the right key, the door will unlock. Keys shine on certain objects. Left click to acquire them. There's something horrible coming. I got a key for something. Oh, whoops. Okay, well, I didn't know it was behind me. Come on, man, really? I feel something horrible coming, but I don't know what direction it was coming from. Yeah, because, although these offer some interactive gameplay, it's not like fun gameplay. It's just like, you die or you don't. There's nothing really much more to it than that. Don't think it's following me anymore. Oh, I can't get past it. I can't even see it. Not very clearly. And of course it's coming from the place I need to go. But it's super wide, so I can't just walk past it. I like the worst flashlight in the world, too. Crystals form due to grudges and block certain paths. Find the object that has gathered these cursed feelings, then interact with them to release the grudge. Wasn't that this? So how do I get away from it? I mean, I'm stuck. Something disappeared. Ah, okay. What? Now there's something here? God. Oh, it follows you. Okay, sorry. Cat break. Huh? Yuna's drawing depicted how this world was laid out. As I gazed at it, trying to grasp exactly what it was showing me, I saw the little character she had added as a postscript below. It didn't seem to carry any meaning, looked more like she'd drawn out of habit. Miss Yuna?
왜 그래?
This drawing.
그게...
Yuna looked a bit embarrassed. It seemed like she'd forgotten she'd even drawn it. But it looked oddly familiar. It looked a bit like a frog with a big seed on its back. So that made it... Is this... Bulbasaur from Pokemon?
아니, 그게 아니라
Yuna was too flustered for words for a moment. She quickly regained her composure.
응, 맞아. 어릴 때 봤어. 너도 전혀 모르진 않을 텐데. 뭐 누나가 다 커가지고 그런 걸 좋아한다는 게 아니라 그냥 추억이잖아? 무심코 그린 거야.
That's an oddly long explanation.
뭐야, 이상해?
Miss Yuna.
응?
Miss Yuna.
왜?
Yuna was avoiding my gaze, cheeks flushed. Why was she being so cute all of a sudden? I like them too. Pokemon.
너도?
It's not just a childhood memory either. I still like them.
아, 뭐야. 의외로 동심을 지키는 면이 있네? 귀여워라.
I could tell she was relieved. She smacked me on the shoulder and smiled. She looked very happy all of a sudden. So Bulbasaur is your favorite?
눈매랑 목소리가 귀여워.
Hyuna gave me eyes. Hyuna gave my eyes a weird look. I can tell what your type is.
그럼 넌?
Me?
응? 그런 폭이 있어?
It's one of the newer generations. Not the most recent, though. Miss Hyuna, how long have you been in this world?
잠깐만. 그럼 너 내가 이쪽에 들어와서 못 본 내용들을 다 알고 있는 거지? 다음 편이라든가 다음 시즌이라든가. 생각해보면 꼭 폭이 아니라 다른 것들도.
If I've seen it, I can tell you what happened.
정말이지? 이리 와봐. 그럼 나 물어보고 싶은 게 정말 많...
Her eyes were sparkling like with a childlike wonder. Her cheeks flushed pink.
좋아, 잘했어. 이런 식으로 서로에 대해 알아가는 거야. 알겠지?
She threw back up the image she wanted to convey. Sounds good. Miss Hyuna. I had found Hyuna a bit difficult, but now I was seeing her friendly side. She smiled as she spoke. After that, she asked her questions and gave me her answers. Did the main character become champion? Not yet. Did the main character of that pirate manga become king of the pirates? Not yet. Did that main character in that detective manga turn back into an adult? Not yet. Hyuna looked a little disappointed. You know, that's pretty funny. Ruby's World number 2. Were you waiting long? Whether or not I was going to be able to return to this world weighed heavily on my mind, but after 3 elevator trips, I was able to get back. I quickly made my way back to the hospital room Hyuna was using as her base, only to see her staring at me as if she'd lost what she wanted to say. What's wrong? Hyuna stepped towards me, face blank, and began stroking my cheek. Hmm? She looked lost for words. She just stared for the longest time.
정말로 와줬네.
Of course I came. I made you a promise, so what? Huh? Suddenly, a sweet aroma hit me. Hyuna had me in a tight embrace. She had her face buried in my chest. Her shoulders were trembling. Oh. Miss Hyuna? I could feel her body closer than ever before. The temperature, lower than what I expected, erased every thought from my mind. Hyuna? Not some other person, but you, Hyuna, in my arms? At this very moment? Out of habit, I squeezed back.
정말로 왔어. 진짜로 지금 내 앞에.
Suddenly, I wasn't sure if squeezing her was the right move, so I just awkwardly draped my arms over her shoulders. This didn't feel like joy. Something a little different hung in the air. Miss Hyuna. She was acting like someone who'd gone somewhere far away and had finally returned after a few years. I just met Hyuna yesterday, though, and our farewell was normal enough. So what was this all about? Hyuna sobbed on like that for some time.
아니, 솔직히 부탁은 했지만 진짜로 이런 날이 올 거라곤 생각 못해서 포기했었거든. 난 여기서 나갈 수 없다고. 영원히 이대로라고.
Hyuna wiped her tears with my shirt. Her hand was shaking.
그런데 이렇게 작은 희망이 이제서야 왜 이제 와서.
Instead of happiness, her voice was filled with sorrow. I stroked her long hair with one hand, and this time I gave her a real hug. It must have been hard on you. You've been through a lot. Hyuna always spoke in a playful tone. She always spoke like she knew everything, despite how many people had wandered into this world. But under the brave show she put on, there was frustration at being unable to leave. All that must have been a defense mechanism used to maintain her own sanity. In fact, she seemed rather helpless. Even such a desperate request as this, she wasn't able to pass it on to anyone, but somehow she'd saved twice.
미안. 조금만 더 이러고 있어줄래?
Sure. I held her gently in my arms. I used a single hand to slowly stroke her hair. All this affection I hadn't known but should have felt, and all this warmth I had been missing for so long. For some reason, it felt like I was helping me more than her. We stayed like that for quite some time. So, why? Why now? Hyuna calmed down after a while. She had taken out a mask from somewhere and put it on. Now her hair was falling forward over her face as she held the large paper bag out to me.
이걸로 갈아입어. 옷 틀림없이 젖을 테니까.
Okay. Her makeup must have smudged, or maybe she was embarrassed about letting her feelings show earlier. I kept my thoughts to myself, took the paper bag, and turned around. Maybe if I left her alone for 5 or 10 minutes, she might show her face again. The paper bag contained some sports clothes that would dry quickly after getting wet. There was also a raincoat that looked like it had come straight out of a horror movie. They were just my size. Get soaked, though. What sort of place was out past that boundary? Come to think of it, I was jumping into this without knowing just how brutal a situation I was getting into. If the situation was ridiculously dangerous, I would have to refuse, of course, but after seeing Hyona's relief and all those tears, I didn't exactly want to leave her high and dry. As I pulled the tags off the sports clothes, I imagined what would lay on the other side of the boundary. The picture on the tag was strange, like a mix of a bunch of famous brands. It seemed like maybe a printing error because the words didn't make any sense either. Maybe some cheap knockoff? Right, time to get down and dirty. I took off my jacket, hung it up next to me, and started to change my clothes, and suddenly I felt eyes burning holes in me from the window and turned that way with a nasty look. Hey. I warned you about crossing paths with me again. The girl stood there looking down, her nose at me.
보기 싫음 고개를 돌리시든가. 왜 굳이 쳐다보고 있대?
This was supposed to be my line. I strode over and threw open the window, but she was already gone. Outside the window was nothing but the ruins of the concrete jungle that once stood there. It struck me that we were actually pretty high up. I took a few breaths to calm myself. It's fine. I've been involved with all sorts of phantasmic things in this world now. I'm used to.
어디 봐요?
Ah! I heard a voice behind me and spun in that direction. The girl was smirking at me from the mirror hung up on the wall of the hospital room.
조는 것 좀 봐.
Are you a girl or a ghost?
지금 그게 중요해요?
The only one.
웃기네 진짜.
The girl disappeared as if she had just walked sideways out of the mirror. Then she peeped back in a rather frightening pose.
내가 사람이라 그러면 어떡하게요?
Then you're gonna get an earful from me.
귀신이면?
I'll let it slide if you just scram.
뭐야? 쫄았어요, 오빠?
How about you step out there and we have a talk, huh? I leaned close to the mirror and rapped on it a few times. She pulled a little spray out of her pocket and let off a shot aimed at my face. I darted to one side, but of course the water was blocked by the mirror.
웃겨 진짜로.
I tried to calm myself once more. This was Hyona's base of operations after all. I shouldn't be littering the place with shattered glass. I let the girl have her laugh for a moment then. Why did you do that the other day? I tried to sound as polite as can be when I spoke.
내가 뭘 했다고 그래요?
You set off that flash, drawing the uglies my way, and then locked the door to block my escape.
아, 그거? 그냥 장난인데? 언제 정리를 이제 와서 끄집어내요?
I really wanted to punch this girl. One punch, that's all I ask. I actually said that.
뭐야? 이 오빠 미쳤나봐.
She disappeared out of the side of the mirror. Then she leaned her upper half back in frame to peer at me. The name tag on the side of her chest moved. I saw that her name was Yuri. Did they not put surnames on uniform tags anymore? Or was her surname Yu and her first name Lee? Only one way to know. Alright, Miss Yu Lee.
뭐요?
She stiffened up for a second. She glanced at her name tag before looking back at me with a blank expression that said she was concocting a plan.
왜요?
She replied with a smirk. Her pause meant my second guess was wrong, and that her given name was Yuri. Why are you here? Do you have some business with me? I asked her a question to try to get her to go away quicker.
그 언니 도와주기로 했다면서요?
Where'd you hear that?
그 너머에 뭐가 있을지 알기나 하고 허락했어요?
I guess you're going to tell me what's there, huh? Yuri wiped the smile off her face and looked me straight in the eye.
감당 못할 게 있으면 어쩌려고?
Do I look like a person who runs away when things get tough?
퍽이나.
Huh?
아까 아주 감동적으로 대화하던데? 그 언니한테 그런 소리 듣고도 발 뺄 수 있는 사람이 몇이나 될까요?
The mirror was right in front of me, but I can only see Yuri in the hospital room behind me. I was absent in the reflection.
그 언니가 눈물 보이면서 그런 말한 시점에 오빠는 이미 길들여진 거예요. 연기 아닐 것 같지? 응?
Hyuna's not that kind of person.
몇 번이나 봤다고?
She saved me on at least 2.
아, 그래. 생명의 은인이면 세상에서 제일 믿을 만한 사람이다. 그쵸? 보증까지 서주겠네.
Hold on a minute. I mean, the voices are a little high. I will not. Savior or not, you should never co-sign alone. I mean, even if it's your parents asking.
그게 뭐 어쨌다고요? 보증은 안 서도 목숨은 걸겠죠? 오빠는 딱 봐도 그래.
I guess you're not a fan of my decision to help Hyuna then, huh? She your arch rival or something?
3분의 1 정도는요?
A rather strange number to be throwing around. How did you know I was going to help Hyuna anyway?
거울 속에 있으면 다 들리는데? 잘 버티셨습니다. 응?
She was like a black box, recording everything. The next conversation I had with Hyuna needed to be in a room without mirrors or windows. So what do you want then?
의심 좀 해보시라고요. 덩치 큰 개처럼 길들여지지 말고.
Alright, I'll keep that in mind. Now scram. I've got to get changed. Getting in a fight with someone through a pane of glass is only going to hurt me. I hate that she even exists in a space I can't touch with fists or the rule of law. Yuri didn't leave though. She just kept on staring. I said beat it.
왜요? 부끄러워요? 내가 보고 있으면 못 갈아입나?
Why am I supposed to be your entertainment for the evening?
아, 미쳤나봐. 자뻑하지 마세요. 오빠가 벗어봤자 무슨...
I didn't want to waste any more time, so I just whipped out my shirt. What?
우와... 아니 어떡해... 뭐야, 말도 안 돼...
I'll just ignore her. She's just a picture on the other side of the pane of glass. I tried to think that, but the way she stared at me made me feel self-conscious. Enjoying yourself?
미쳤어요? 요즘 누가 그런 근육 덩어리 좋아한다고...
I told you to leave if you don't want to watch. Yudi's face crumpled, but she kept on staring. I figured she was struck speechless, unable to move, but then she pulled her phone out of her pocket. Was she really about to take a picture of me? I ran over to the mirror. Yuri flushed red and ran off. The nerve of that runt. Finally, I was able to change in peace.
다 갈아입었지? 나도 준비 끝났어?
Right when the thought of peace crossed my mind, Hyuna barged in. Her face was back to perfection. You'd never know she'd just been in tears. Could you close that, please? What was up with this day? I covered myself with my hands and spun around. Hyuna closed the door. She didn't leave, just closed the door. She didn't leave, just closed the door. What are you doing?
왜? 닫으라며.
That was your hint to leave.
들어온 김에 자세히 좀 보게.
What? Hyuna strode towards me. My legs moved a step away before my mind knew what was happening. Get a closer look at what?
전에 치료해줄 때 대강 봤는데 그래도 확실한 게 좋잖아?
Miss Hyuna, you may not be aware, but sexual harassment against men these days is...
피지컬을 봐둬야 일을 시킬 거 아니야.
She got a point. Hyuna closed the distance without another moment's hesitation and checked my upper body carefully, again making me self-conscious. She checked me out for quite some time before...
되게 괜찮은데?
That's good to hear. Hyuna gave me a relaxed smile. She looked so relieved.
운동 얼마나 한 거야?
A little more than your average person.
조금이 아니지 이건.
These days, everyone's putting in around as much... these days, everyone's putting in around this much work. This is the age of self-improvement, after all.
아, 그래?
Hyuna smiled as she pretended like she was going to touch my chest. Are you saying you don't exercise?
응? 나?
Hyuna took out her knife and spun it around on her hand. She was good with that thing.
이것도 운동으로 쳐줘?
Maybe it can fall under home workout? I had no idea how this was going to play out, but I promised myself one thing. If I got Hyuna out of here, I was going to have to fix her habit of whipping that thing out in front of people. More sub-stories. Forced interview.
저기, 야!
Yes, Miss Hyuna?
나랑 잠깐 얘기 좀 할래?
Sure, what is it? When I turned to Hyuna, looking surprised, she also looked surprised.
왜 놀라?
I'm not, it's just...
뭐야, 찔리는 거 있어?
I hated that my first inclination was to pour through everything that I'd done for any mistake I'd made. When was I going to be able to drop that habit?
도움을 청한 건 나고 네가 와준 건 정말 고맙지만 어쨌든 위험한 일을 같이 하는 거잖아.
Uh-huh.
네가 밖에 나가 있는 동안에는 서로 연락할 수 없기도 하고 미리 이것저것 정해두는 게 좋을 것 같아서.
That does sound like a good idea. Hyuna grabbed my hand and pulled me over to one of the office desks in the hospital. For some reason, she held a cup of something resembling coffee out to me. Then she went around to the other side of the desk, locked her fingers together, and looked at me.
좋아. 하나씩 물어볼게.
Okay.
이쪽 세계엔 며칠에 한 번씩 올 수 있어?
The semester wrapped up, so I can come every day for the time being.
원하는 시간대는?
From morning to night would be fine.
이쪽 세계와 비슷한 현장에서 일해본 경력은 있어?
Why are you treating this like a job interview?
누나를 구하려고 지원하신 동기는 무엇입니까?
She suddenly looked embarrassed, putting all that out there, and avoided my gaze. I had the feeling this was her way of making things feel more comfortable for us. Was I having that hard of a time communicating with her?
그럼 지금의 건강 상태는 어때?
Should be satisfactory.
키는? 체중은?
I told her.
혈액형은? 요즘 체질량 지수는? 혈중 콜레스테롤 농도는? 내장 기능은 정상이야?
Miss Hyuna? I found myself having a look around me. There was no one in the hospital, nothing to see. Luring people into the hospital, then asking about their health and their vitals, slowly pulling the wool over their eyes. All of a sudden, I remembered a horror movie I'd seen and was gripped with anxiety. I took a casual sip of my coffee.
신장이나 각막에 특별한 이상 같은 건 없어?
Hyona's smile is starting to give me the creeps for some reason.
어머, 왜 그래? 맛이 이상해? 안에 뭐가 들었는지도 모르고 마셨지?
I slid backwards in the chair. The door we had walked through was locked.
어딜 가려고? 이리 와.
No way. It can't be. Hyuna.
이리 와서 앉아. 어서.
What was this? Did she really expect me to drink a mint chocolate latte?
응. 무서웠어? 그게 모처럼 병원이니까 장르를 살려볼까 해서 에이, 걱정 마. 그런 짓 안 해. 이리 와, 이리 와.
Hyuna grabbed a hold of my face. Her hair flowed around me, wrapping me in her fragrance. She smiled happily, but then blushed when I didn't get up from my chair.
뭐 이런 식으로 나 장난치는 걸 좋아해. 가끔 선을 넘기도 하니까 혹시 좀 너무하다 싶으면
I won't hold back. I'll sit here and answer any questions you've got. But I think it would be better if you eased up on the questions just a bit.
미안. 앞으로 명심할게.
Alright. I let out a sigh. Hyuna flashed me a warm smile.
고마워. 앞으로도 그렇게 해줬으면 좋겠어.
She just threw that out there. Huh? Hyuna placed a hand on my chest. Then she looked up at me with a warm smile.
섭섭한 일이나 화나는 일이 있을 때 반대로 내가 기분이 안 좋은 것 같다는 판단이 들 때 혹은 원하는 게 있거나 내가 말한 거랑 다른 의견이 생겼을 때도 속으로 고민하지 말고 편하게 말해줬으면 해. 나도 그럴 테니까. 한번 지적해봤으니까 앞으로는 편하게 할 수 있겠지?
Was this whole prank just to say that?
아, 장난은 그냥 치고 싶었던 거야.
This world was filled with all sorts of unknown entities. Letting a bunch of disagreements pile up and form into doubts could have grave consequences. Instead of letting those doubts roll about in my mind and cause conflicts, it was better just to throw them out there and talk about them. I agreed with her there. Did she notice that I was having a hard time getting through to her? You are an adult, Miss Hyuna. You know that, right?
누난데 당연하지.
Hyuna puffed out her chest proudly. However,
그런데
yeah?
민트 초코라떼 그렇게 싫었어? 나는 나름 추억의 맛인데 이거. 어렸을 때 커피 맛이 궁금해서 몰래 먹어본 게 하필 이거였거든.
We were going to have to talk more. We were going to have to talk more about that. All right, why don't we stop it there? This is audap. You've been watching Her World, running on running on the Steam Deck. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.